I often talk about how I feel like the mainstream left is being infected by a more radical wing of far left identitarians, etc. You get the point. That's probably why you watch my videos. There are fringe groups on the right that I think are generally bad people. They have bad opinions and they want to do bad things, but those people aren't really in politics and they're not being humored by the mainstream. We have this story here. It's from it's an opinion piece from Michael Knowles. It's from his show, The Left Cannot Be Civil. And there's a few things that I want to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about Ocasio-Cortez's comments on the border and Chuck Todd pushing back. But I also want to talk about how there's still this rift within the Democratic Party. The reason why I want to highlight this is, for one, for those that aren't familiar, Hillary Clinton made a statement before saying, civility, we can't be civil until we win. And that says a lot. When will they win? You never win, right? I've said this before. There are no ends. The ends don't justify the means. There are no ends. If the Democrats controlled every branch of government, they would still act like they weren't winning. They would still say, oh, the Republicans are doing this. So if they want to come out and say they will never be civil, well, then it's on them. They are refusing to come to the table. So we also have this current rift between the Democrats where, basically what I think is happening is back when Hillary Clinton was, running in 2016, the Democrats were kind of unified behind her. And the Republicans were in disarray because Trump was coming and upsetting things and doing, I don't know, he's a different kind of Republican and everybody knew it. He changed the party. For better or for worse, your opinion, fine. But now you have the Democrats who at the time were saying like, the Republicans are done for, the Republican Party is over. And now they're stronger than ever. At least for the time being, I guess. But it really does feel like the Democrats are the ones who are facing this fracture. They're falling apart, they're tearing each other apart, and they refuse to be civil. The problem is, if you refuse to be civil, then you're not going to be civil with your own side. And that's literally what's happening. So let's take a look at this a little bit from Michael Knowles, and then we'll move on to some of these other comments, and I'll make some more points. The story from the Daily Wire says it's on Thursday's episode of the Michael Knowles Show. Knowles explains the double standards of the left when it comes to civility, and with those on the other side of the political aisle. The reason I want to highlight this is that it's actually within their own party. The far left, these progressives, have moved into the Democratic Party, and one of the first things Ocasio-Cortez did was protest Nancy Pelosi. That says a lot, doesn't it? It's not about civility with the other side. There's an other side within their own party. I think what we're seeing actually is that we have three political parties right now, and one's operating under the guise of Democrats because we have a technical two-party system. So, Ocasio-Cortez's politics are very, very different from Hillary Clinton's or from Nancy Pelosi's. Cortez wants to impeach. Pelosi doesn't. Pelosi's trying to play the long game and reach more Americans. Ocasio-Cortez is catering to the far left. You can't necessarily call them the same political party. But let's read a little bit. Otherwise, I'll just keep ranting. The left can't be civil. Don't take my word for it. Hillary Clinton explains why the left won't be civil anymore. And here's the quote from Hillary. You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and or the Senate, that's when civility can start again. But until then, the only thing that the Republicans seem to recognize and respect is strength. It's really interesting that that's the position she took. The Republicans have repeatedly called for civility, for debate, for conversation, and conservatives tend to do it. And moderates, center-left types tend to do it. But you have these people like Clinton, by any means necessary, and it's not just the far left. You've got politicians like Hillary, like Biden, who believe any means necessary. And when you put that up against the far left, who believe basically the same thing, what do you get? Incivility. It's not from the Republicans. There are absolutely Republicans who do not convey civility and will not reach out that olive branch. But for the most part, there certainly are people, like Dan Crenshaw comes to mind. It's great to see Ted Cruz and Ocasio-Cortez, but isn't it interesting then that you have this rift inside the Democratic Party? So right now, to give you a specific example, you've got Joe Crowley, the guy that Ocasio-Cortez displaced, is supporting a candidate in opposition to Ocasio-Cortez, and you have the Justice Democrats, I think, or whatever this. Look, these Justice Democrats people. Oops, Freudian slip. They've got like three companies that do the same thing. Right, they're trying to upset another Democrat incumbent. So when you look at it like this way, it's kind of interesting that the Democrats are fighting amongst themselves, certainly with the Republicans too, but then you do have these moments where like Ted Cruz and Cortez come together. So here's what Knowles says. You can't be civil with people who oppose everything you stand for. That's her theory. Then who are you supposed to be civil with? If you don't have to be civil with the people who disagree with you, then what's the point of civility? Of course you're civil with the people who agree with you. You are not just civil with them, you embrace them, you celebrate them, they're on your team. The only purpose of civility in politics is to be civil to the people that you disagree with. But Hillary doesn't grant that people who disagree with her have any legitimacy, have any right to speak, have any right to vote. They're deplorable. They're irredeemable. They're the worst kind of people in this country. They shouldn't have a voice. They shouldn't be able to elect a president. Guess what happened, by the way? When she said that those very people made sure that she never came within a stone, when she said that, those very people made sure that she never came within a stone's throw of the White House again. And now take a look at what Michael Moore is saying. Michael Moore seemed to get it, that people were fed up with the status quo and they were going to elect Trump. And they did. And what's happening, and what does he say now? He calls them insane. That is not civility. How can you expect to win the votes of people if you disparage them, if you insult them, and you refuse to be civil with them? It's like the Democrats just want to excise anyone who dare oppose the dogma, but that's not a winning strategy. It's just going to be the end of the Democrats. So let's do this. Let's move on from Michael Knowles' comments, because I don't want to make this a super long video. I don't think we need to go too much into like what the left is doing, because we talk about it a lot. And I did talk about this in a video yesterday. Chuck Todd, why aren't Democrats calling out Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for her camp comments? I want to avoid getting too much into this because YouTube is trying to, demonetize and delete my, well, I'll leave it there. There's controversial issues that are difficult to talk about, but I want to point this story out specifically to say Chuck Todd, live on MSNBC, okay, I thought it was MSNBC, is calling out Cortez for her comments on the border, on the detention facilities, and where are the rest of the Democrats? It's really, really interesting to see that you've got regular people that are saying no, and then you've got all the Democrats deciding to soften what these camps really are. So the reason I bring this up is because it's a contrast to this idea of internal incivility within the Democrats. What makes it so that the Democrats will fight amongst themselves for one thing, but then all get behind the craziest, most insane rhetoric for another? Think about it. You've got moderate Democrats right now saying they want to approve $4.5 billion to solve the problem on the border. You then get the far left Democrats like Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and that saying, oh, no, but we don't want any enforcement of immigration policies. We just want the humanitarian aid. So they disagree here. They're somewhat obstructing. They're holding up the bill. But then when it comes to Ocasio-Cortez saying insane nonsense, where are the Democrats? Well, the ones that did spoke up in defense of her. Why would they want to defend her here, but then disagree with her when it comes to the bill? It makes literally no sense. And that's one of the big problems for me when looking at the Democrats. I can't figure out what they're doing and why they're doing it. It doesn't seem to make sense. They don't want civility. Well, Michael Knowles points out, well, then who are you going to be civil with? That makes no sense. Look, they're fighting amongst themselves for two reasons. The first, 2020 is coming up. It's obvious. They're going to tear each other to shreds. That's the point. Right now, you've got some silly, I don't even know what's going on. Joe Biden said some ridiculous thing about how he used to get along with segregationists, and then Cory Booker got really mad. Yes, because Cory Booker is going to play up the identity politics in an effort to win. So he sees an opportunity now with Joe Biden making these comments, and they're going to go at each other's throats. The reason I bring this up, okay, I guess the point I'm trying to make with this video is I'm sitting here reading these stories confused to what the hell they're doing and why they're doing it. I saw the story from Michael Knowles, right, talking about how Hillary Clinton said you can't be civil unless you win. Well, they won the House, and what happened? Did they get civil? No, they didn't. It's still incivility. It's still the defense of Antifa. It's still the lies, the cheating, the smearing. They defend each other when Cortez says ridiculous nonsense, but then when it comes to Joe Biden, they go for the throat. So we've got just complete chaos. That's the point I guess I'm trying to make is I can't figure it out. Maybe you can, I can't. I'm sitting here looking at the Democrats and I'm like, okay, you're fighting about this, but why aren't you fighting about that? You agree with them on this, but you don't agree with them on that. You're supporting the bill, but now you're opposing the bill? It's just complete disarray. Look, I understand it's kind of obvious. With 2020 coming up, the Democrats are going to fight. That would happen no matter what. But when you add that, Cory Booker coming out and saying, how dare you, Joe Biden, make these comments? Cory Booker, what did you say about Ocasio-Cortez? Why aren't the Democrats coming out and calling her out for that? I just don't seem to understand. But I will point this out too. You've got an internal civil war. You've got the 2020 civil war. And this just sends the Democrats into complete chaos because the Democrats are not only fighting amongst themselves because a far left is encroaching within the party, they're also fighting amongst themselves because they've got to deal with 2020 and each of these Democrats wants to put themselves above the other. And then you have Hillary Clinton, incivility, and their fight against the other tribe. And there you have it. I look to the Democrats and I'm confused and it's complete and total chaos. They're going to tear themselves apart and it's only going to get worse. So I guess my final thought on the matter. I was thinking about how in 2016, everyone said the Republicans were done. Right? You remember that, right? People were saying, Trump is the sign of the end for the Republicans. What ended up happening? Everyone's rallying behind Trump. You've got Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz rallying behind Trump. Democrats are confused. They're tweeting about how Marco Rubio shows up and cheers on Trump in Florida. And they're like, why? Rubio hated Trump. And then Rubio tweets something like, a Republican is coming to support a Republican president. Why is that weird? And I'm like, that's a good point. In 2016, the Republicans were doing the same thing that, Biden and Booker are doing. But everyone was saying, the Republicans are done for. Now we're looking at the Democrats, and they're in complete disarray. So I'll say two things. It could be that, pot was calling the kettle black. They were seeing themselves in the collapse. It could also be that this is a normal process, which is going to result with one strong Democrat on top, just like with Trump, and the party realigning under new leadership. But all I can really say is the left is not going to be civil at no point. They won't, because you never meet the end. There is no winning. Once they win every branch, they will continue to say, like, we haven't won until there's no more Republicans, right? Even if they're in control, they'll say, we didn't win yet. The Republicans are at our back. It'll never end. There will never be civility. So I don't know what's going to happen with all this weird infighting, but I will say, one more thing. Ton of stories about Democrats tearing each other's throats out. I mean that metaphorically. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, and I guess get your comments on what you think is happening. I wouldn't be so stupid as to claim that Democrats are gonna fracture or fall apart because of the Democrats said about Republicans. But I don't think I can make a prediction as to what's coming next. Democrats are trying to upset, the progressives, the far left, are trying to upset more incumbents. They're trying to get rid of the old guard and bring in a new far left identitarian faction. That's worrisome. And if that becomes a Democratic Party, then we're in serious trouble. Like us liberals, like people who want real moderate policy. Nancy Pelosi is right when she says not to call for impeachment. I think she's wrong on the border and a bunch of other things. So she's not the right candidate. I like Yang, I like Tulsi. Even Tulsi is she's not super far left identitarian, though, she's kind of, I think she's great. She's not perfect, but she's, the anti-war stuff works for me. And she's a sane, rational person who's willing to reach across the aisle and have conversations and do, like a real person. But if the far left, Justice Democrat types, these identitarians take over, it's going to be not fun. You are going to see the rise of these neoliberals, these far left, whatever you want to call it, who base their politics on a fringe morality dogma of intersectionality, may take over. And that's scary. Because imagine what it was like in the late 90s, early 2000s with the neocons who based their decisions off of the moral right, morality and religion. You'll get the same thing now. We are getting the same thing now with Democrats. I'm not a big fan of that, but I'll leave it there because we're going a little long. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place in this video because I had like 50 stories pulled up and I'm like, all I can see when I step back is complete disarray and I can't even figure it out. So stick around. Next video will be at 4 p.m. on my main channel, youtube.com/Timcast, and I will see you all there.